So today is all about strengths in kids. I have a kid right here that I brought before the program. Say hi. Is this yours? Is that yours? Is that yours? I don't think that's yours. I don't think it is. I don't think it's yours. No interest in this at all, by the way. Zero interest. So say hi. Say hi to Luis Gonzalez. Hi, sup, Luis. Hi, Dari. 6 others. Hi, Pablo. Hi, Pablo. Yeah, this is Pablo, by the way, in case you didn't know. This is Pablo. This is one Pablo Buckingham, found, born and raised on the streets of Tijuana. Was going to be called TJ. There was a lot of votes for TJ, but he just looks like a Pablo. I don't know. What do you think? Does he look like a Pablo? Does he look like a Pablo? Kind of. Taya had Duncan. I kind of like Duncan too, but this is okay. Hi, Josephine. Hi, Granny. Hi from Vancouver, Canada. Hello. Elise, I can't. Again, hello, Pablo. Hi, Miss Surreal. I like that, Miss Surreal. D. Murphy, Nick for wine. I'm all for wine. One Pablo Buckingham. Yes. Look, see? Look, see? People, yeah, they're like, thumbs up for you. Send some love if you like. One Pablo is a winning name, like, right? Like, give me some love. You think Juan Pablo is a good choice. I think Juan Pablo was a win. It was a win. Okay, 2 cuties. Yeah, L-E-S-A-K-T. I don't know how to pronounce that. Lesek. From Sacramento, all the way up in Sacramento. Yes, Juan Pablo. Come on, right? Portland, Oregon. Hi, Vandy G. Van 3.
He's born.
Hi, Kelly Coach. I want to hold him. I know. He's very cuddly. He's like super duper cuddly, like uber cuddly. Give
kisses. Give kisses.
Can you give a kiss?
No, you give kisses.
There's no kissing. All right. Well, he's gonna be around. Occasionally, there's some whining from Michelle, and then some from him too. There's the joke. Keith in the UK. Hi, lunch by Alex. Hi, lunch by Alex. Hi, King Kama Mama. Doreen. Hi, Doreen. Hi. Carol Carrillo. There we go. Jennifer. Hi. From Mission Bay, San Diego. Yeah, way the heck south, down close to Tijuana land. Franklin, Tennessee. Hi, David. Hi, PLS, please. 1228. Hello from Minneapolis. Beautiful. All right, I think you might need to. Put him in the. Well, he has to go somewhere. Okay, so it's 12:03. Our focus today. Hi, the WJW. Hello. Alice in Minneapolis. Hi, Alice in Minneapolis. Tipsy's mom. Yes. Okay, so today it's all about kids today, and so this is a huge subject, right? And first of all, if any of you are, could you just show me some love or send hearts if you're a part of that student ambassador program? Some of you had signed up to be part of that standout student ambassador program. What that is, if you don't know, is that we are building a standout for a student. Myself, Dr. Mary Hayes, Dr. Fran Chumney, we are taking the standout. Yes, okay. Hello, everybody. We're taking the standout assessment that we built for grown-ups, and we're trying to build one for teenagers, basically 11 to 18, 19. And because standout, as you probably know, we didn't just make it up on a Thursday. I don't know. It took an awful lot of rigorous psychometric research to make sure that we were building it right. For kids, you've got to do it even righter, I guess. So we have 1 million people that have taken standout. Now we've got to make sure that when we build a standout for student assessment, every single one of the 34 items really still works in exactly the same way as the adult one. Because remember, we're measuring parts about a human that don't change. So if you've helped us with that already by having your kid take the research version, thank you so much. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, then go to, you can see it, Team Marcus at marcusbuckingham.com. You can learn more about this standout student assessment. The exact timing when we release it will probably be a little affected by COVID, frankly. So stay close to this. Bottom line, of course, is that in schools we don't do a very good job, do we, of helping our children to understand the uniqueness that is them. We don't give them a language, we don't give them a discipline. So our hope with the standout student is that we're going to make this really cool student version of standout and then give it away. Give it away to parents, teachers, students. Somebody's moving something. Am I moving? Am I good?
Kate told me to do that.
Kate told you to do that.
Yeah.
Kate, thank you, Kate. Thanks. That's an important move. So thank you all for helping so much on that. Okay, so today's about parenting, right? Parenting, strengths, kids. And I would just ask you, for the purpose of this hour, if you really want this hour to work for you in some meaty way, please put aside for this hour all of your defenses around this. Parenting for many of us is the most important job that we have, and we get tense about whether or not we're a good enough parent. We put the bumper stickers on because we want to show that we've got an honest student, right, in our class or in our household. And we think all the jobs we do, the most important job is like, how do we raise our kids? And we are sensitive about it. And we hold on to it. I mean, the worst thing you could do to say to someone is that, yeah, no, she's great, but she's not a really good mom. I mean, like Dagger, right? He's not a really good dad. I mean, nice guy, but not a good dad. I mean, we hold on to that so tightly. And that's fine, it's understandable. But for the purpose of this hour, put that aside. Put whatever you're holding on to aside, and we'll try to dive into what can we do to help develop our kids in a way that allows them to reveal their strengths. So for a moment, put that aside. Let's just start with some data. Because by the way, who am I to stand up and talk about parenting? Like, I'm the perfect parent? Of course I'm not. I make as many mistakes as all of you do. We all make mistakes all the time with our kids. They're so amazing, but they're also so complicated. And how do we do it? Right now, give me some love. Some hearts, if you've got kids at home right now during quarantine, how many of you have been trying to juggle being a really good partner to your spouse or partner, or being a really good worker, a team member, colleague, but also you're supposed to now be responsible 100% of the time for the learning, the development of your children. Yeah, it's like, gosh, we're all there, aren't we? And how do we do that? I mean, by the way, hats off to teachers, right? Hats off. Because this whole teaching kids thing, it's tricky. It's really tricky. So yes, a lot of us are right there. How do we do this? And I am in no position to sort of tell us what the truth is. What I am in a position to do is share what we know. What do we know about the way in which children grow? What do we know? So I thought I'd share with you just a few things that what we know, and there are some actions that flow from each of those. And then during this, as ever, you're going to ask questions, and then my team is watching what you're asking, and Michelle's right here, and then we've got Meredith and Kate and Christy keeping track of all the questions you're asking. By the way, Mary, hi. Mary is in Lincoln, Nebraska. Not Lincoln, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska, just outside of Omaha. So here's what we know. Here's a few things that we know. First, as I shared on a post this week, we've asked this particular question of parents around the world for the last 25 years. Your child comes home with the following grades: English A, Social Studies A, Biology C, Algebra F. A, B, C, F. Which grade deserves the most attention from you? And whenever you ask this question, there isn't a single year or a single country where less than 70% of parents go with the F. We all go with the F. When you give a parent a choice of a range of grades and you say which deserves the most attention from you, we go with the F. Why do we do that? We do that because we're all frightened of the F. Our job as parents is to keep the kid alive. That's our job, right? Our job as parents, don't break the child. You've been given a child, don't break it. And so from time immemorial, our job has been to protect the child from the dangers of the world. That's why we have a sort of a negativity bias. We remember bad things more than we remember good things, because the bad things can hurt the child. So we understand, all of us do understand, that the F can hurt the child, particularly today, right? Where your child, for those of us that live in the US, your child is their GPA. Your child isn't the unique, beautiful child that you gave birth to or that you nurtured. Your child's their bloody GPA. Their entire bloody future is dependent upon their GPA. So it's understandable that we go to the F. But you can see where that leads, right? It leads to a lot of conversations about the F. And you end up with your child thinking that they are being characterized. All of their interactions with you are around their flaws and their failings and how to fix them. That's what the F leads to. It's not that it's not understandable. It's just that what it leads to is a weird relationship between you and your kid, doesn't it? Because all the conversations are about everything the kid isn't and what the kid should do in order to be who they aren't, because they got an F and you've got to fix the F. So understandable, but boy, it leads to a whole bunch of weird outcomes for the child. So the question for us as parents, and just like, give me some love, show me how many of us today have kids? How many of us on the call right now have kids? Just like, yeah, you got any kids? Anyone got any kids? I mean, anybody was a kid? Anybody knows a child? I know, it's Friday. It's Friday humor. Okay, a lot of us have kids. All right, a lot of us have kids. Okay, so, notwithstanding the fact that I am so not clearly a perfect parent, although my mom, I think, is on the line here. I think Josephine Borman is on the line from London. She clearly is a perfect parent.
She is.
Totally is a perfect parent. Dari is on the line, Michelle's mom. Perfect parent. Perfect parents. Other than that, there's no perfect parents on this call. So listen, I'm going to just share these with you. Here are the 5 rules of love, which are sort of derived from what we know about the way in which a child grows. Here are 5 rules of love. And then there's an action that comes with each one of them. So I'm going to share these 5 rules of love with you. And then we'll take any questions that come up. And as you know, the way that this thing works is if some of you have a couple of questions during this, then I'm going to stop on 5 rules and we'll dive into something that you all really, really, really want to talk about. Okay, 5 rules of love. The first is a weird one, but it's straightforward in a sense. Love is the seed of contribution. Love is the seed of contribution. We tend to think of love and what you love and work are these sort of different things, and they're in opposition to one another. Yeah, it's all very well to focus on what you love, but you've got to be able to get good grades. Yeah, it's all very well to focus on what you love, but you've got to be able to do good work. Love, contribution. No. Let's look at it as an infinity sign. Love is the precursor to contribution. Love is the precursor to contribution. So, what's the job of a parent? What's the job of a parent? The job of a parent is to enable the child not to be happy, necessarily. Not to learn, necessarily. Not to be perfect, that's for sure. But what's the job of a parent? The job of a parent is to enable the child to make their most unique contribution in the world that only they can make. That's your job. There'll be happiness in it, there'll be love in it, there'll be joy in it, there'll be learning in it, there'll be frustration in it, there'll be pain in it. But your job as a parent is to enable the child to make their contribution that only they can make. And love is a precursor. Love is the seed to that. Love is the precursor to contribution. Love isn't in opposition to it, it's the precursor to it. If your child is struggling with burnout, if your grown-up child is struggling with burnout, it's not an excess of work or studying, it's an absence of love. So that's why we're going to talk about love today, because love is the raw material that allows a person to draw strength from life. And the point of that is so they can contribute their unique, beautiful dent in the world. And your job as a mom or as a dad is to enable your child to make their most unique contribution only they can make. So that's rule number 1 of love. Love is the seed of contribution, not of individualism, not of selfishness, not of self-involvement, not in self-indulgence. No, love is why are we doing this? We're doing this so the child can make the dent that only they can make, right? Okay, right, give me some hearts if you know what I'm talking about. Just give me some hearts if you know, deep down you know. You've just always known. It wasn't about making your child happy. It wasn't about ensuring that they made the most money. That you've always deep down, you've known as a mom or a dad, that it was about enabling to make their most unique contribution. Their unique expression. Yes. Okay. Second rule of love. Second rule of love. I have 2 nieces. They're like 13 and 12. I won't mention their names because my sister doesn't really want them all over social media, which is fine. They're gorgeous and lovely and smart and weird. And the second rule of love is that my loves will never be your love. My loves will never be your loves. One niece will never be the other niece, ever. One of my nieces loves toads. Toads! One of my nieces loves lizards, that she just loves the feel of them, the sense of them. She wants to go work in a lizard rescue center. By the way, how do you make that up? She wants to work in a lizard rescue. She shaved her hair completely like 11 on Stranger Things, apropos of
But she
nothing.
did that way before.
But, so yeah, that's who she is. My other niece, 1 year younger, has long, flowing blonde hair that you do not touch. And while she admires the fact that her sister loves lizards, has no interest in going to work or volunteer at a lizard shelter center. I am not you. You are not me. It's the first, sort of the most basic thing we could teach our kids if we're parents, is that each person's loves are their own, and they start so early. I had an elder brother and a younger sister. My elder brother was a beautiful pianist and composer. My younger sister, as you may know, was a ballet dancer, a professional ballet dancer for 20 years. I'm in the middle. I have no flipping musical talent. I love music, but I can't think in terms of scales. I can't think in terms of pitch. I looked at Neil and Pippa and I wished I were them. Give me some hearts. If you've got siblings and you sort of wished you could graft onto yourself the skills and talents that they had. I know I did. I wished I could compose like Neil. Oh my word, I was so proud of him. But I also kind of wanted to be him. And my dad gave me a trombone, and we were supposed to be part of a band, but when I played that, right, you've had this feeling. You want to be your brother and your sister. I mean, in some cases you don't. Like you look at your brother and your sister and you go, thank goodness I'm not them. But many of us do go through life going, my sister was the normal one. I was always weird. You know, it's like, and yet as a parent, the second rule of love is that the loves of your child are not the loves of your other child. The uniqueness of the human is the most important building block for all of this. And so the first prescription for you as a mom or you as a dad is watch your child. Watch your child. See what she gets into. See what draws her in. See when time flies by. When she doesn't have to do anything, what does she do? Donnie Fitzpatrick, I don't know if Donnie, if you're on the phone, but Donnie's a teacher up in Canada, and one of the first things he asked his students to do in school was to just say, when was the last time a day flew by? When was the last time a day flew by? You know the answer to that question at 8, 9, 10. And what the answer is for one of my nieces is not the answer. One of them it involves toads, and for the other one it really doesn't involve toads. So to start with, let's just know that your loves are not my loves. And that's beautiful. Each one of us is completely and utterly unique. So as a parent, watch for the uniqueness. Watch for what people are drawn to. The third rule of love beyond that is, oh, by the way, just to back up one step, how many times do we as parents impose our loves on our children? How many times do we do that? I mean, give me some hearts if you've had a parent who's imposed their loves on you. I mean, it's the accountant dad who wants you to be an accountant. It's the lawyer mom who wants you to be a lawyer. Or it's the gregarious mom who looks at their kid who goes to a party when they're 4 and the kid holds onto their ankles and the mom is embarrassed. The mom is embarrassed because my kid doesn't gregariously do what I would do and wander through the party and get to know all the other little kids, and so you get anxious. You get super anxious. It's almost like as a parent, one of the things that we should ask you to do, and maybe you could try this. Just write down as a parent, for each of your kids, what do I worry about with this kid? What do I worry about with this kid? Boy, if you answer that question, you'll see whether or not you're imposing your own loves on your kid. What do I worry about with that kid? And of course, the corollary to that, what do I delight in about that kid? What do I worry about? What do I delight in? Take a minute. Just inventory for a minute, right? What do you worry about? What do you delight in? And then ask yourself, in a sense, what do you spend most time talking to the kid about? Whether the kid is 5 or whether the kid is 35. What do you worry about? What do you delight in? What we're asking you, of course, to do in terms of this second rule of love is let the kid show you what they love. Because they're not yours. My first niece isn't my second niece, and my second niece will never become my first niece, ever. Each person's loves are super unique. Okay, the third rule of love. The third rule of love is love lives in the detail. Love lives in the detail. One of the people that I admire greatly is Sir Ken Robinson. Give me some love if you've seen Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk, where he talks about how the fact that there was this one child who was presumed to be sick and broken because she couldn't focus in class. And then her mum eventually took her to the doctor, and the doctor put the radio on, and they left the room, and the daughter started to move in time to the music when they left it, right? You've all seen that. Yeah, it's so, I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. And they leave the room, and then the child starts moving in time to the music, and then the doctor turns to the mother and goes, she's not sick, she's a dancer. And in a sense, that's beautiful, right? She's not sick, she's a dancer. Good, and yet there's more. Because what kind of dancer? Love lives in the detail. Love lives in the detail. My sister was a dancer. My sister was a Royal Ballet, professionally trained ballet dancer. But she wasn't a dancer. She was a very particular kind of dancer. And she manifested that so early. She was the kind of dancer who was a lyrical dancer. She moved in a lyrical, one tiny half of a beat behind the beat to express an anticipation of a movement before there's a movement. She wasn't on the beat doing 4 pirouettes to the left and forward to the right. That wasn't her thing. She had a lyrical, almost just a pause in front of the beat movement. And she was long. She was 5'6", which for those of you that know, I mean, they measured the gap between her wrists when she went to the Royal Ballet School, and they said that she was going to be 5'2" or 5'3", because they can measure the gap between the bones, and then they anticipate how tall you're going to be. They said she's going to be like 5'3", whatever, but she's not. She's 5'6", which for a dancer is, I mean, that's a big, not big, tall dancer. But she was lyrical, and for her to be shoved into the structure of the Royal Ballet Way, it missed the specifics of her loves. Pips loves dancing in a very particular way. And if we just are too generic about loves, oh, she's a dancer. Yeah, but what happens if you're somebody who loves movement, but it doesn't actually look the way that dancing tends to look? Well, we've just marginalized you because you don't look like the generic version of a dancer. How about this one? Oh, she loves math. Yeah, really? What kind of math? Does she love geometry? Does she love trigonometry? Does she love calculus? Okay, the specifics are just everything. So as a parent, one of the things you should do is when you're talking to your kid about what they love, what they lean into, try those does it matter questions. If you ask your kid when was the last time a day flew by, ask your kid, does it matter? In the case of, let's say they love doing math. Does it matter what kind of math you're doing? Does it matter if it was a test or if you were in class? Does it matter if you were doing trig or if you were doing arithmetic, if you were doing geometry? Does it matter? If your kid says, I love competition, does it matter if it's a team competition? Does it matter if you're in the finals? Does it matter if it's in the last 30 seconds? It's like we've been watching The Last Dance, which is this whole kind of study of excellence around Michael Jordan. Well, look, Scottie Pippen, an amazing player, but he doesn't love having the ball in his hands in the last 20 seconds. He just doesn't. He's super competitive. But does it matter if it's at the beginning of the game or the last 20 seconds? Well, with Scottie Pippen, the answer is yeah. Don't give Scottie the ball in the last 20 seconds. He misses the last 2 free throws. He will. It's like, does it matter? Andre Agassi, one of the best tennis players in the world, but from a super early age. And some of you know this in terms of his story. He didn't love being by himself out there, just beating the other guy. He has the best Davis Cup record in the world because it's a team sport, Davis Cup. It's when the countries all play one another and you're playing for your team. Okay, he's amazing at that because his competition only really fires when he's on a team. Does it matter? Does it matter if? Does it matter when? Does it matter who with? I do a lot of public speaking, but I don't love public speaking after dinner. Like, hey Marcus, jump up and just say something. Okay, I hate that. Does it matter who you're talking to? Yes, I've got to know my subject deeply. I've got to have time to prepare. There's some does it matter questions that my mum or my dad or my teachers should be asking me. So for you as parents, answer the question, does it matter if, when, who, right? Yes. By the way, their school won't do this. I mean, that's why we're having this conversation. And I'm not saying, if you're a teacher on the phone right now, I'm not saying you're not amazing. But the schools won't do this. Your school is the point of school is to learn information so that you can pass tests. The school is never going to the school will take very seriously whether or not you can tell the difference between a parallelogram and a rectangle, or an isosceles triangle. The school will take that really, really seriously. But what they won't take seriously is your kid's natural loves. What is the detail of what that kid leads into? Where that kid, does it matter if this? Does it matter if that? Does it matter if this? Your kid's going to get to be 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and no one will have taught your kid how to do this at all. So that's why we're having this conversation today on the phone, because you are the parent and you've got to do it. I've got to do it with my kids, because school won't do this. School's not set up to do this. School's set up for information transfer and test taking. It's not set up to remember, go back to rule of love number 1. Help your child make the biggest, greatest contribution they can make, that only they can make. Okay, I'm so sorry. And we could do one of these on schools, by the way, because we need to change the curriculum. If our goal is to help your child create the most authentic and unique contribution they can make, school's not going to help. So you've got to. Okay, so...
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're saying interrogate their loves so that you can get to specificity. What about the things that they don't love? Should you do the same thing?
So Michelle was just asking, what we're saying is, of course, interrogate what your kids love. Interrogate it. I don't mean where were you on the night of the 13th? I mean, be curious. Does it matter if, does it matter when? Be curious about what they love. And Michelle's question was, should you also look at what they loathe? What they lean out from? The answer to the question is yes. The job of parenting is curiosity, right? What does your kid lean away from? Why? What does your kid lean out from? Why? Now, the reason why I would strongly suggest you start with what they lean into is because if you ask them about everything that they hate, that doesn't actually get you any closer to what they love. But for you to know to pay attention to what they lean out from, shows you and them that you're super interested in the uniqueness of the way in which they draw strength from life. Rule number 4. Rule number 4 in terms of this, the idea of love in life as a parent. Rule number 4 is love must flow. Love must flow. There's this wonderful aphorism in the Gospel according to St. Thomas, which says, if you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, it will destroy you. Think about that for a minute as a parent. Love is an energy. Energies must flow. Love expressed will create you. Love dammed up will destroy you because it'll burn you up from the inside. So one of your jobs as a parent is to try to look for all sorts of ways in which a child can let that love flow. There's a whole big old debate about should you specialize or not specialize? Should you give your kid range and lots of experiences, or should you get them to really focus? And of course the answer here is that as a parent, you're trying to find as many different avenues to let love flow. You want your kid to experiment, but experimentation for a kid is not to try to put in what isn't there. You're not doing it to break through their comfort zone and to turn one kid into another kid. You're doing experimentation so that you can discover and nurture what is in there. That's what experimentation is all about. Hey, child of mine, try this, try that, try this, try that. But we're doing it so that you can let love flow and you can see where the child leans in. Experimentation is to discover and nurture what is there, not to put in what isn't there. You're trying to figure out ways in which the love can flow. And the funny thing about love, have you ever seen this? It's like the child is born and the loves are already huge within her or within him. It's like the love is bigger than the child. It's like we see it when we serve a child who loves competition. And when they're 4 or 5 years old, They just don't know what to do with the competitive instinct they have. They can't channel it. It's like Jack, my son, was a huge Boston, New England Patriots fan. We went to the Super Bowl one time where they played the Giants and Eli Manning had that final crazy last minute drive and the Patriots won. And Jack, he didn't know what to do with it. He just had to, I don't know what it was, 9 or 10, he had to rip the Patriots jersey off because he didn't, it's like the love was too big for him. And of course, that's what so often happens with a child, is that the love is bigger than the child. So your job as a parent is to find lots of ways in which that love can flow. And then the child can see and experience that love as a way of engaging with the world. Give me some hearts. If any of you had a childhood where you thought you were weird, where maybe your parents didn't let that love flow, where it was dammed up inside you. I know Michelle and I have had lots of conversations about this. You know, Michelle has an amazing sister who's like, she's more out there in the world. She's the way in which sort of kids should be. And I think for a long time, Michelle felt as though she was weird as a kid. Her sitting under the table and just creating things and making things or having a pang or a passion to go other places. And she had no language to talk about that. She had no language to express that. And obviously that's not anyone's fault per se, but how many of us as kids, we go through life and no one's helping us to channel our loves. So they just sit in there and eat away at us. And what doesn't get expressed, it just sits in there and it can eat you away. So your challenge as a parent, find ways, places, opportunities for the love to flow. And when you do that, you're watching so carefully, so closely to see whether or not something picks, something sticks, something works for that child. Love unexpressed will destroy you. It will eat away at the child. Now again, schools are great, and they won't help with any of this. They just won't help with any of this. Your child's going to wake up at 23, 24. We, corporations, we companies will hire the child, and the child has no bloody clue about how to channel their love in life to contribution. It's the weirdest thing. But remember, love is an energy. It needs to flow. If you don't, as a parent, help it flow, it will eat the child up from the inside out. And that's where you get frustration. That's where you get, what do we call this generation? We call this generation the Teacup Generation, don't we? We call this the Teacup Generation because this is a fragile generation. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they bring. We don't help them do that. Everything's about their GPA. They are jacked up on Adderall or jacked down on Xanax, and we keep prescribing because the poor kid doesn't know how to express themselves, and so they're the Teacup Generation because we drop them, they shatter. There's a lot of that around. They're superficially so confident. Superficially, they got a Pinterest page and they got an Instagram. Look how cool my Instagram life is. They've got a perfect sort of social presentation of TikTok. Look at my fabulous TikTok dances. But deep inside, they don't know who they are. They don't know what their loves are and how to contribute them. You drop them, they shatter. I was talking to Donnie the other day. Sorry, Donnie, to keep sort of invoking you, but Donnie's a career counselor in a school up in Vancouver or north of Vancouver. And he does these interviews where he tries to help kids figure out what they're going to go do next, which college they're going to go to, which place they're going to go to go learn. And he was saying the other day, I do these interviews where I'm just asking questions of these kids, and he's done like 3,000 of them. He said there isn't a single one where the kid doesn't cry. Well, first of all, no one misses the appointment, which he says is kind of weird because kids are always forever missing classes. But he says, this one where we just sit and listen to you talk about how you learn, how you think, how you make decisions, no one misses it. And Donnie's kind of, he's a 6 foot, I don't know how tall you are, Donnie, 6'4". Anyway, he's a basketball coach. He's like a gruff guy. He's not soft and squidgy. He's like, hey. But he asks questions of these kids and he shuts up and then they just talk. And they're all crying. And he says the ones who cry the most are the ones with the highest grades. Because you can see they're just holding on so tightly to some other definition of what their life should be. And of course, for you as a parent, what we're trying do really is say, look, there's love inside you, Marcus. Find places in which you can flow. You do that really well, you'll end up making a contribution that's only yours to make. Whatever your GPA is, well, who the heck cares about that? But boy, you don't express it and you start crying the moment someone just shuts up and listens to you talk. Okay, the last one. And
Can I?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, sorry. This is just like, for obvious reasons, so you know why, but this is so close to home for me, and it's, if we don't change this, we won't change anything. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Nikki and the Bears, she said kids have a lot of room to grow. How do parents address things they lean out from? Do they simply accept? Do they help with them grow in that area? Where's the balance? And you didn't really talk about that foundational.
Yeah, so Michelle's question is like, kids have room to grow. And so how do you balance this, like what they lean out from versus what they lean into? Surely what they lean out from is an opportunity for growth. Okay, this is a complete mind flip. But we know, in terms of the way the brain grows, we know you grow more synaptic connections in the areas of your brain where you have the most pre-existing synaptic connections. We know you can learn. Your brain is malleable. Your brain will learn and grow, and actually we can see it. We can count the number of synaptic connections. But you will grow more synaptic connections in the areas where you have the most pre-existing ones. Nature always follows the path of least resistance, and where there are the infrastructure around these synapses, infrastructure meaning alpha integrin proteins, blood vessels, this is like the infrastructure, it's just easier to grow more synapses. Well, you play that out, what that means metaphorically is the child will learn and grow the most in the areas where she's already shown some natural affinity, some natural appetite. She'll learn and grow the most there. We talk so much about how we should put the kids outside of their comfort zone. Because who knows what the kid will learn? Because that's where they're going to grow. No. The data on this is so clear. One niece of mine doesn't grow to be the other niece of mine. Instead, each one of them has a unique mental network of synaptic connections. No one will ever have Remy's synaptic connections ever again, or Jack's, or Lilia's, or your kids. And so what is growth? Growth isn't try to grow the synapses of your brother. That's not growth. Growth is how do you learn and grow and develop using the patterns that are already there inside your brain. How do we help you try new things? Yes. Experiment? Yes. But we're experimenting and learning so that you can discover and nurture what is in there. You're not trying to put in what isn't. That doesn't mean you shouldn't keep experimenting. And if you're a parent, keep giving your child new things to experiment with. But then watch. Please don't believe all of this rah-rah stuff that says you can be anything you want to be if you try hard enough. It sounds so good when you say it, but of course what that means is that there's no uniqueness in you. You can be anything you want to be. Hey, niece number one, you can be niece number two. Hey, Marcus, you can be your brother. You can be your sister. Yes, you can. Come on, by the way, if you don't become your brother or your sister, it's because you didn't work hard enough. Now whose fault is it? All of this stuff where we go, you can be whatever you want. Growth mindset, man. Growth mindset. No. Growth mindset means, remember going back to the first rule of love. First rule of love. How do I help my child use their loves as a precursor to contribution? We want to help him or her make their most unique contribution in life that only they can make. That doesn't mean that you can be anything you want to be. It means you are who you are, and it's a beautiful thing, and you need to channel it intelligently, and I, as the parent, am going to help you. Gosh, we've got that so wrong. We want everyone to grow. Everyone can learn and grow, but they don't learn and grow and become somebody else, their sibling. They don't. Michelle can't be Tamara. She just can't. She can admire Tamara, but she can't be Tamara. Which sounds so stupidly obvious when I say it about two sisters. But boy, how many of you have felt that about your siblings?
Okay, so Nikki just has a follow-up. She says, I'm having a hard time reconciling this with creating and building good habits, even around things kids do lean into. Help.
Well, so Nikki's asking about good habits. What good habits can you instill in your kid? Look, some things as a parent, you're saying to your kid, there is a ticket to the ballpark. It's like 90% of life is showing up. Hey kid, you need to show up. You need to have good manners. You need to be respectful of others. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Should we as parents teach those things? Yes. Does a 16-year-old turn around to their mom and go, hey mom, I'm just not one of those people that follows through on my commitments. Okay, that's just about clear. That's not okay. That's about being a good citizen in the world. Very, very important, obviously. Beyond that,
what's that distinction?
Well, the distinction is between values and loves. Values say, we're here in the world with other people, and we need to be able to follow through on our commitments. That's about values. If we say we're going to show up at 5, we show up at 5. We say we're going to pick up some food for you so that you have dinner tonight, then you pick up the food. Beyond that, how are you going to make your greatest contribution? We've got to see what you love and what you don't, and then as parents, we've got to figure out ways in which you can channel it. That's the difference. One is values, which is okay, you've got to live those out. One is contribution, the unique dent that you'll make in the world. Values are homogeneous. Loves are heterogeneous. Values, universal. Strengths, contribution, uniqueness. That's the distinction. Okay, last love rule. Just so we get through it, I suppose. Here's the last rule of love, and maybe it's the most important rule of love. There's no love without space. There's no love without space. As a parent, you are an intelligent space maker. During this whole college cheating scandal, and if you want to see how that college cheating scandal affected me and my family, you can go to Instagram, you can see it in the links, and I did a whole speech I didn't intend to give. In fact, it's called the speech I never intended to give. So you can see how it sort of affected me. But the image that I have, people said, oh, the parents thought they were entitled. No, they were frightened, and they want their own personalities were sort of imposed upon their children. And the image I had was of Pac-Man, and that each of these parents were like holding onto the joystick of Pac-Man. Give me some love if you remember what Pac-Man is. Some of you, I guess, may be too young to know what that is. But Pac-Man, remember, you're trying to move the little thing as he eats all the things, or she eats all the things, and then get the fruit, and then you go to the next level, and then you're yanking always with the joystick. And then they get to the next level, and they get to high school, and then they get to college, and then they get to a job, and all the time you are the parent, right? Yes, you're a Pac-Man parent. Okay, don't be a Pac-Man parent. Don't be a Pac-Man parent. Love lives in choice. And so every time your instinct says, reach in and grab the controller, reach in, and of course the college cheating scandal was an extreme and pathological version of this. I will so control this controller that I will actually fake the grades in order to ensure that they get to the next level. I mean, they didn't get to the next level, I did, but hey, who's counting? So every time you have that knee-jerk reaction of, I'm going to reach in and grab the joystick, try this. Let go of the joystick. Let go of the joystick. Put your hands behind your back and wait and watch. The biggest gift you can give to your child is a healthy relationship with themselves. Your child needs a healthy relationship with herself or himself. That means choice. Every time you make some sort of schedule, and I'm not saying all schedules are bad, but every time you make a schedule, you take away a choice. Every time you take away a choice, you take away the child's relationship with themselves. You want your child to be able to make the choices and see the reactions from the choices, because that's what being an adult is. You let them make the choice, they learn from the choice, and you as a mom or a dad, you don't know what the choice will lead to in terms of learning. As some of you may know, and I talked about this in the stimulator description of the standout strength role, I had a stammer growing up, like a really bad one, and until I was 12 it wouldn't go away. And then I was picked to, I won't go through all of this, if you want to hear me sort of describe it in detail, again, you could go to my bio and you can see a speech in which I talk about it, but basically, what was that?
The link in your bio.
You can go to the link in my bio. But I had a stutter, like a terrible stutter, which sounds sort of weird because I'm talking to you so easily now, but when I was 12 I couldn't say my name, and Marcus Buckingham is a really, 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 really long name. I mean, can you imagine that? And then I was picked when I was 12 years old to read aloud in chapel one day, and I was petrified because I couldn't say my name in class. I couldn't talk to you one-on-one, let alone speak in chapel. It was just a public humiliation. And what actually happened was I went the next day and I stood up, and because of the way I'm wired, it intimidates me to talk to one of you. But if I'm talking to 4,000 of you, for whatever daft reason, I don't know why, the stimulation of that opens my brain up and I can speak. And so when I looked up to everyone in the chapel that morning, I could actually be fluent for the first time ever. And then from that moment, I just pretended, when I was talking to one person, I would just pretend I was talking to 400. And my stamina went away in like a week. But imagine the night before. Just imagine the night before. And imagine you're my mum or my dad. And your son comes home and says, hey, Mum, I've been picked to read aloud in chapel the next morning. It's going to be a disaster. What would you do today? Because I think what would have normally happened today, maybe even I would do this today, I would go, you are not reading aloud in chapel. I'm going to call up the school. We can't be putting my kid in that. I'm not going to embarrass and humiliate my kid in front of all the other kids. My word, that's just not going to happen. I'm going to call the school. I'm going to stop that. I'm going to reach for the joystick. I'm going to reach for the joystick, and I'm going to stop that. I'm going to stop that. When Mum did, every fiber of Mum's being must have been, do that. Just reach in and do that. Just again, give me some hearts if you know if you've ever felt that as a parent, where you go, do not hurt my child. Do not hurt my child. I am going to. Anyway, she didn't do that. Can you imagine how every fiber of her being must have been pick up the phone, and she didn't do that?
What did say what she said? It was just so cute.
She said, so Mom said, I can remember it like it was yesterday, I told Mom that this was, right? Yes, like every fiber says, save my child from this terrible. And Mum just said, when I told her that this was going to happen the next day, she just said, that'll be lovely, Poppet. That'll be lovely, Poppet. And I'm thinking to myself, that will not be lovely, Poppet. I don't even know what a puppet is, but it won't be lovely. It will be humiliating. And it's boys. I went to an all-boys school. They will just torch me. Anyway, she didn't. She didn't reach in. She let go of the joystick. She put her hands behind her back and she said, let's just watch and wait because we don't know. So I go up there and I look and I see all these faces, and she didn't know this. I didn't know this. This was an unlock for me. For whatever daft reason, the language of my life, the love language of my life is that when I see 400 faces looking at me, I get more fluent, not less. You're different. You are different than me. I mean, maybe a couple of you aren't. I don't know. But I'm that. My mom isn't.
But
my dad isn't.
If she didn't do that, like you may have had you wouldn't have found that solution within yourself. I shudder.
Crazy. Now look, sorry, Mom. I know you're on. Mom isn't perfect, right? Mom's making decisions all the time. I'm sure she could redo a bunch of decisions. But one of the things that saved me, imagine if Mom had reached in and grabbed the joystick. My life would be different. My life would be different. I wouldn't have learned what I learned. I wouldn't have seen what I've seen. I wouldn't have made the sense that I made. Mom made space. She made space. She was a space maker. As a parent, you are a super intelligent space maker. To Nikki's question, by the way, that doesn't mean that you don't tell your child to follow through on a promise that she made. Yes, you do, because that's values. But what it does mean is that when your instinct is to reach in and fix, step back, cross your arms behind your back, and just watch, because you don't know what your child's going to learn. And as you think about what your responsibility is to your child, your responsibility is to help him or her build a really strong relationship with themselves. And so what the words that we're trying for here are words like agency, words like self-efficacy. How does a child draw strength from life? You show me one school that has a curriculum on that. It's only the most important thing for your child, and we don't teach it anywhere. I am so blessed that my mom let go of the joystick, because one of the things that I learned was how to draw strength from life. Just this one example, it enabled me to speak. It changed my life, and she didn't know it. That didn't feel like a portentous Tuesday morning for her. It was just what it was. My sister, My sister, mom used to drive, dad used to drive my sister to this ballet school 2 hours away. How many of you have done this for your kid? You've got up super early. You've gone to every sort of sports class. Come on, give me some love if you know how much you've given to your kids. Because you have. You've got up early. You've trained early. You've signed them up for everything. Well, my mum and my dad did that for my sister. Driving, right? You've done that, haven't you? And they did it for ballet. Yeah, we've done it. And they did it for ballet. They did it for my sister, We drove all the way across London, 2.5 hours, or 2 hours. I don't want to exaggerate. I'm like 2 hours there, 2 hours back, 4 days a week. And then at 11, my sister takes the exam to get into the Royal Ballet School at 11. Each class in the Royal Ballet School has 16 students in the class. Do you want to know how many apply? Just in England, 20,000 apply, 16 get in. 20,000 apply, 16 get in. For those of you that are good at math, that love the math, that's a 0.08% acceptance rate. Harvard's is 10. So imagine how difficult that is. She gets in. Pippa gets in at 11. 11. All that time, all that energy, that driving back and forth, the sacrifices that my mum and dad must have made for my sister. She gets in at 11. And you know what my mum and dad do? Again, my dad's dead and he was amazing in his own way. Mum's still completely very much alive and very amazing. But my mum turned to Pippa and said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And my sister said, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to go. I want to keep doing normal school. I want to do normal school. I don't want to go. And my mum went, that's so fine, darling. She made space for my sister. And when, this has got to be your choice. You got to step in. I'm not stepping into this. It's your life, it's your choice. She's 11. 11. So when your kid says to you, I don't want to play soccer, do you let him not play soccer? When your kid says, I don't want to follow through on the commitment I made to my teacher, do you let him not do that? No. Of course, as a parent, you go, you made a commitment, you follow through. But when you're in the world of strengths and love and choices, you let go of the joystick, you do this, and even when your kid is 11 and she's got one of the places, 16 out of 20,000, you go, you know what? If you're not ready to go, Pippa, you're not going. Why? Why would mom do that? Because mom's job is to help my sister make her own greatest contribution, and my sister can't do that unless she has a relationship to herself. And the relationship to yourself means that when you make a choice, you understand why you did and what the feedback, if you like, what the feedback loop of that decision is. Mom can't do that. She can't do it for me, she can't do it for my sister, she can't do it for my brother. And by the way, if I know what happens, at 13, Pippa went back up to take it again. She got in at 13, and at 13, my mom goes, do you want to go? And Pippa goes, no, I'm ready. Okay, well, some of you might go, well, that's too young. Maybe at 23, I'll let you make your own choice. But for whatever reason, there's an orientation that we got to take, which is that your child's loves, when they're born, are huge. They're huge. Their loves are huge and precise. And the person who's wisest of their loves is the child. At 6, at 7, at 8, keep watching. Because your job as the parent is intelligent space making. Because that's the last rule of love. Love, if you think about it, there is no love without space. You're trying to help your child learn their own love language. And they can't do that if they don't make choices. Oh gosh, it's 12:54. How does that happen? I'm like running out of time. So those are the 5 rules of love. The first rule of love is that love is the precursor to contribution. Love is the seed of contribution. The second rule of love is that my loves are not your loves. Each person is so beautifully unique and distinct. The third rule of love is that love lives in the detail. Love lives in detail. Doesn't matter. The fourth rule of love is that love must flow. Love expressed will create you. Love dammed up will destroy you. And you knew what that felt like at 14, didn't you? 15. As your love had nowhere to go. And then lastly, there's no love without space. So for us as parents, what that means is be a super intelligent space maker. And if you do that well, your child's going to make choices and learn the language of love that will inform all the way back to rule number 1. It will inform their contribution in the world. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. Any thoughts?
Everybody's saying there should be a session 2 on this.
Yeah, well, okay, so listen, if there needs to be a session 2, I'm sorry, I was talking to Michelle before that we did this, and I'm like, you know what, I think we should share these 5, because I am no perfect parent. I mean, you know this, some of you know this, you know me really well. Like, my kids they're a work in progress. Like, all of our kids are a work in progress, and all we're trying to do is enable rule number 1 of love, that they're going to try to make their greatest contribution in life, the most unique contribution they have. So I thought we'd share these 5, and yes, there needs to be a whole other session, really, doesn't there, on all the questions that you had. It's super valuable, moving. Well, thank you. Yes, be an intelligent space maker. I wish, and I know there are teachers on the phone right now. Let's write that. One of you said that earlier. Let's write that curriculum. I mean, you dive into curriculum today, and somebody spends a ton of time on geometry. Somebody builds the most esoteric, the most fine-tuned, the most rigorous approach to the isosceles triangle versus the parallelogram. And like, our kids have got to learn that difference. And then you're like, yeah, but who's teaching, in terms of your kid, who's teaching Jace how to step into and grow into what he loves? No one's even giving him that language. Which is why when Donnie does these sessions and he asks these open-ended questions of 3,000 kids, they're all bawling.
I know we have 3 minutes, but yes. I love this question from Mellow Camp 11. What if your kids don't love anything? And I hear her because I feel like my oldest one only loves video games and nothing else.
So the question was, what happens if my kids don't love anything? And Michelle was saying, I understand this because I'm worried that my kids just love video games. and so we could probably do a whole thing on video games, right?
Maybe that's a question for later, but...
Here's the thing, to be human is to love. To be human is to love. To be human is to love. If you ask a kid when was the last time a day flew by, like Donnie did in all of his things, the kid doesn't go, never. The kid goes, well, the last time a day flew by was, and they'll tell you. Your kid has loves. I don't mean this to be mean, I'm not being mean, but if you don't know what they are, it's because you haven't been paying attention enough. You haven't been quiet enough. You've allowed your own fears of, like, don't let my kid die, or the F thing, right? You've imposed you've been talking too much. Maybe like I am today, but you've been talking too much. Your kid has loves. Ask them when was the last time a day flew by, and they will have an answer. You may not like the answer. You may not even understand the answer. They have an answer. It's like to talk to Jace and go, Jace, when was the last time an hour flew by? He's got an answer. And when he answers, when I was playing Fortnite, your response isn't, no, I don't mean that. I mean, other than that, when was it? No. You're going, does it matter, Jace, if it's a team game or it's a personal one-on-one game? Does it matter if you're playing with your friends or if you're playing with a competition? Does it matter if you've just started or if you've been playing for 3 hours? Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter? One of the most valuable things you can do as a parent is spend an hour with your kid doing something that they love. Have you done that? Try that this week. Spend an hour with your kid doing something that they love. Anything that they love. If it's video games, play with them for an hour. Just to see. Play with them for an hour and see what they lean into, what they enjoy. See what's there. I'm not suggesting they're going to be playing. Jace isn't going to be a professional video game. I doubt he'll be a professional video game player. But he has an experience. His experience is an experience, and there is emotional valence to that experience. Some things bore him to tears or freak him out and scare him, and other things he leans into. What Michelle's job is as a parent is to be curious about what he leans into and why. From that comes contribution. From that comes learning. By the way, from that comes attention. Right? Jace now feels like someone's listening to his experience. Again, we've got 23 seconds here, but this is not to pat him on the head and allow everything. Please don't mistake. I'm not suggesting we allow everything. Jace needs to make a contribution. So that's why that's the first rule of love. Use your love to make a contribution, but it begins by rule number 2 is that Michelle's loves aren't Jace's loves. Okay, we're going to run out of time here, so I'm going to stop. We will do this again. We will find a place to put this. Thank you.